Hi guys, Tracy and Dust. Welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about my favorite show, Married at First Sight Australia. This is season 13 and this is episode 26. Can you believe it? So let's get into it. Juliet's hatred for Beck is so big. She decided to share the text Beck had sent Gia about David and Alyssa. Stella shocks us all tonight about the current state of their relationship. They're really doing great now. They had a lot to talk about. She had some fears to address. And that's what's so beautiful about Philippe and Stella is they're good communicators, even when it's hard. They're really doing the work, and she's just really scared. I mean, these are big feelings that she has for Philippe. She's very invested, and she's just getting ahead of herself, worrying about the demographics of it all. And he's going to support her. He's going to reassure her, and things are going to be fine. Stephen and Rachel are doing great as well. So are David and Alyssa and Chris and Sam. At least they all seem to be. But you never really know what's boiling underneath the surface. But those things have a way of finding their way out and revealing themselves. So I'm here for it. Gia just doesn't want to get an earful from the experts or from Alyssa and David. She deserves it. She knows she deserves it. She's kind of been outed by Juliet as to being the ringleader of it all. And she just does not want to pay the consequences of her actions. Of course, Gia's mad at Scott. I mean, she always puts whatever onto Scott. She's mad that he didn't tell Gia and the group that he loved her. Gia left. She was mad at Scott for not telling her that he loved her in front of the group. And I think it all just got too much for her, and her best way to deal with things is to run. So she left without even telling Scott. It's always, always all about Gia. Scott's just going to have to get used to this. This isn't going to change. Whatever Scott does, it's never enough for Gia. This is his concern. And Scott feels pressured by Gia. I think all the men feel pressured by these women. What is going on here? Why would she want him to say, I love you, when he's not ready? And I feel like he's so close. He would have just said it on his own. But she had to make a big deal out of it. And now he's scared and doubtful and fearful because all she ever does when things don't go her way is bail. Wouldn't you want your other half to be comfortable and confident in the relationship? I would think so. Philippe sees Gia's part in the text gate, and he talks to Stella about it. He can see it very clear. Beck, of course, blames Gia. There's nothing new there. It's always the same MO. Funny, Beck says Gia never takes responsibility for her bad behavior. How ironic. Coming from Beck, of all people, she has 86 million excuses for why she's never in the wrong. Alyssa is reading the nasty text out loud to David, and it's really very horrible. I don't know why they targeted these two so much. Jealousy, I suppose. This week, the couples will be taking part in Feedback Week. It's a partner swap of sorts, just for a couple of hours, where you get input from somebody else in the experiment. And they can hold each other accountable. They can maybe shed light on something that they can see that you can't. And it's just a very helpful challenge, and it gives clarity to the other participants. So it's very important. Scott's emotions are reeling after Gia left the commitment ceremony the night before without telling him, and she lets him know she's mad at him for not being as far along with his feelings as she is. Well, the reality is he's a guy. Women's emotions move quicker than men's, and they're more logical about love than we are, and we're just much more emotional. Of course, each relationship is going to progress at a different speed, but if you really cared about somebody, you wouldn't pressure them into something that they're not ready for. And Gia, once again, only cares about herself. The next morning, it seems that Chris is really down. I mean, what more can he do? The reality is Gia is a manipulator, and when she doesn't get her way, she pouts, she just behaves in a really negative, nasty manner. And this isn't going to change. This is who Scott is married to. And so he's got to figure out a way to deal with her, and he just hasn't figured it out yet. This is a really hard situation for him. And Gia is telling him she doesn't feel like he cares for her. And this just has him so surprised, because he does everything every day to show her that he cares about her. I mean, what more can he do? A relationship should be a safe place where you feel loved and confident that the relationship is solid. And Scott doesn't feel this way. They're actually on really shaky grounds. Sam and Chris really need to talk about the long distance thing. This is going to be right around the corner for them. And how are they going to handle the day-to-day when they live apart? I mean, it seems like Chris has it all figured out, or he hasn't even told Sam what his plans are. So Sam's really surprised. He's like, when did you come up with all this? I haven't been informed about my future or our future. Scott allows Gia to cool off. Gia is a lot like Juliet. She's a mean fighter. That's the worst kind of person to be in a relationship with, because once you say something, you can't put toothpaste back in the tube. And it seems like she does this quite a bit. You want someone who's kind, that even when times are tough, they don't tear you down. And they don't tear down your character, they don't tear down your spirit, because it can take a long time to rebuild those things. And then you're just not going to trust or feel safe with your partner. Now, Beck told Danny that she loved him, and she actually is regretting that, because he didn't say it back, and she feels very embarrassed that this happened in front of everybody. But we've all known that he doesn't love you back. So this is no shock to any of us. So don't feel embarrassed about us knowing. We've already known. I don't think this is going to change. I mean, he's really tried, and he just doesn't have those feelings still. He's actually looking forward to the task coming up today, because he thinks he can learn from anybody, and even Gia, especially Gia. So he's not worried about it, which I find interesting that she's so worried and he's not. The reason Gia and Beck are worried is because they've done something wrong, and they know it. And you know, when you're telling a lie over and over, the lies change, and you basically get called out on it. And that's what they're worried about. Beck also doesn't want Danny to share their problems. She's been trying to make it like everything's perfect in their relationship, and we all know it's not. We've heard the mumblings and the rumblings, and we know that their relationship looks one way in public and another way behind closed doors. Beck divulges that she wishes she never told Danny that she loved him, because now she's given away all of her power to him. Well, he always had the power, because when you don't really care and you're not invested, you're not worried about losing something. Scott's a pretty positive guy. He also is excited about the task and looking for feedback. I really think he just needs to vent, because Gia's a really tough person to deal with, and he needs a little support. And he meets up with Stella. Stella tells Scott that she's worried that Philippe won't be patient enough with her. She comes with some baggage, in her opinion, some abandonment issues from her childhood, but he seems pretty patient to me. And he sure likes Stella, so I think she'll be fine. But this is something that she divulges to Scott. Scott tells Stella that he's been given an ultimatum by Gia, and he's concerned. Gia loves the drama, and she's creating this, and it's affecting Scott too. And Stella says, yeah, and that's not going to change, because that's who Gia is. She loves drama, and if she can't find it, she'll create it. And although Gia and Scott are perfectly aligned on many things, how they fight is going to be really difficult in their relationship, because like I said, she's a mean fighter and Scott is not, and it's abusive, and that's going to grow. He's going to grow wary of that. That's no fun. Scott has a little assignment from Stella, and she's going to ask him about what Stella said, and it's not going to go over well, because the fact is, Stella told the truth, as she does, and Gia is going to feel like it's against her and negative towards her. God forbid anybody sees Gia in any kind of negative light, right? You can tell Scott is so worried about saying the wrong thing and setting Gia off. She's already very prickly from the night before, and he just kind of skirts around the topic and tries not to really divulge what Stella had said. Gia tells Scott she didn't participate in the task. She never went. And you know what? She was never planning on going. She was actually kind of mad that he went, because when he said she was going, she just kind of went along with it. But it was because he was excited about it and he wanted to go. She thought that they would boycott it together in solidarity. And she realizes she doesn't quite have as much control over Scott as she thinks she does, which really bothers her. And he's going to pay for his non-compliance. Sam feels like Chris is being too pushy and too controlling. Sam doesn't feel like he has a say in anything. Sam really loves to avoid conflict, and Chris is the type of person that will let him and just bulldoze him, and that's not going to work. You can't grow as a person, and your partnership can't get stronger when you don't address your concerns. And it seems like Sam and Chris might just be sweeping their problems under the rug. That eye roll last episode was very concerning to me. I didn't like it at all. It kind of shows you who Chris is. I mean, we all know Sam is very sweet and kind. Danny was matched to meet up with Gia, and she knew it. That's why she didn't go. And she knew it was going to be Beck or Danny, but she kind of felt like it was going to be Danny, and she was right. And she was a no-show, and he just sat there waiting. She is such a big baby when she doesn't get her way. Alyssa's also being pretty controlling and telling David what to say during this task, which is unfair. He was just as part of this text message as she was. So he should be able to say whatever he wants to. But these women controlling these men, I hate to see this. Unfortunately, David is paired with Beck, and she's happy to see him, or so she says, but he's not happy. He knows he can't even say anything about the text messages, otherwise he's going to be in trouble with his girl. So he's put in between a rock and a hard place. You know, Beck wants to address it with him. Alyssa really wants to address the phone call with Beck and Gia herself. And she wants to do it first, and she doesn't want David to intervene. And it's really not just about you, Alyssa. It's about David too. These women are not letting their men have a voice and be men, and it's just hard to watch. Of course, it's Beck who shows up to talk with David, and this will be interesting. He is going to let someone lie to his face. David really didn't want it to be Beck, but of course it is. And so now he's faced with the challenge of responding or not responding, standing up for himself and his girl or not standing up for them. It's just a really difficult position to be in. Beck starts to talk about the text, and David tries so hard not to say anything, but he just can't really help himself. Beck is trying to make Gia the wrong one, and she claims she respects David, and Alyssa, she doesn't respect anybody. She doesn't even respect herself. But clearly, we all know that's not the case, and David knows it's not the case. And Beck's shocked that David and Alyssa have actually read the text. So her little game of playing it down isn't going to work, because they actually saw the real thing. And she's shocked. She asks if Juliet had sent it to him, and he said, yeah, she sent us the text. You know, the fact of the matter is David and Alyssa were used as pawns, just like Juliet was used in Gia's game. She's really the puppet master. And Beck really can't talk her way out of this one. 100%. She's at a loss for words. Scott is just so uncomfortable. There's so much tension with him and Gia. He knows telling her about this discussion that he had with Stella would not go over well at all. Telling Gia that she loves drama, and that's the way Stella sees it, would just really make her mad. And the more he talks about his relationship and the more uncomfortable he gets, Gia doesn't like Stella's feedback at all. She can see right through it. She knows Scott. She knows he's uncomfortable. She knows he's not telling her something, and he's not. And he just doesn't want to rock the boat. It's hard not to rock that boat. She's always finding fault in Scott, and you really see a different Scott now, just like Danny. Although Danny's kind of coming back to himself, Scott's not. He just seems like a beaten down person, and I'm sad about it. He was such a strong man with strong opinions, and now he's just trying to keep the peace, and he's like a shell of himself. We've seen this with Luke. We've seen this a little bit with Joel, but we're seeing it with Scott now. See this trend of these women. It's awful. Okay, you guys, I love this episode. Can't wait for the next one. Hope you'll join me. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you soon. Bye.